Leadership law number 7, the law of respect. People naturally follow better leaders than themselves. If you had seen her, your first reaction might not have been respect. She wasn't a very impressive-looking person at all, just a little over 5 feet tall in her late 30s with dark brown, weathered skin. She couldn't read or write. The clothes she wore were coarse and worn. When she smiled, it revealed that her top 2 front teeth were missing. She lived alone. The story was that she had abandoned her husband when she was 29. She gave him no warning. One day he woke up and she was gone. Her employment was erratic, and most of the time she took domestic jobs in small hotels, scrubbing floors, making up rooms, and cooking. Just about every spring and fall, she would disappear from her place of employment, come back broke, and work again to scrape together funds. When she was present on the job, she worked hard and seemed physically tough, but she was known to suddenly fall asleep, sometimes in the middle of a conversation. She attributed her affliction to a blow to the head that she had taken during a teenage fight. Who would respect someone like that? The more than 300 slaves who followed her to freedom out of the South. They recognized and respected her leadership, and so did just about every abolitionist in New England. The year was 1857. The woman's name was Harriet Tubman. While she was only in her 30s, Harriet Tubman came to be called Moses because of her ability to go into the land of captivity and bring back so many people out of slavery's bondage. Tubman started life as a slave. Born in 1820, she grew up in the farmland of Maryland. When she was 13, she received the blow to her head that troubled her all of her life. A white overseer in a store demanded her assistance so that he could beat an escaping slave. When she refused and blocked his way, the white man threw a 2-pound weight that hit Tubman in the head. She nearly died, and her recovery took months. At age 24, she married John Tubman, a free black man. But when she talked to him about escaping to freedom in the North, he wouldn't hear of it. He said if she tried to leave, he'd turn her in. When she resolved to take her chances and go north in 1849, she did so alone, without a word to him. Her first biographer, Sarah Bradford, said that Tubman told her, "I had reasoned this out in my mind, and there was one of 2 things I had a right to, liberty or death. And if I could not have one, I would have the other. For no man should take me alive. I should fight for my liberty as my strength lasted." Tubman made her way to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, via the Underground Railroad, a secret network of free blacks, white abolitionists, and Quakers who helped escaping slaves on the run. Though free herself, she vowed to return to Maryland and bring her family out. In 1850, she made her first return trip as an Underground Railroad conductor, someone who retrieved and guided out slaves with the assistance of sympathizers along the way. Each summer and winter, Tubman worked to make return trips to the South. Every spring and fall, she risked her life by going south and returning with more people. She was fearless, and her leadership was unshakable. Hers was extremely dangerous work, and when people in her charge wavered or had second thoughts, she was strong as steel. Tubman knew escaped slaves who returned would be beaten and tortured until they gave information about those who had helped them. So she never allowed any people she guided to give up. "Dead folks tell no tales," she would tell a faint-hearted slave as she put a loaded pistol to his head. "You go on or die." Between 1850 and 1860, Harriet Tubman guided out more than 300 people, including many of her family members. She made 19 trips in all and was proud of the fact that she never once lost a single person under her care. "I never ran my train off the track," she said, "and I never lost a passenger." At the time, Southern whites put a $12,000 price on her head. Now, that would be around $400,000 today. By the start of the Civil War, she had brought more people out of slavery than any other American in history, black or white, male or female. Tubman's reputation and influence commanded respect, and not just among slaves who dreamed of gaining freedom. Influential Northerners of both races sought her out. She spoke at rallies and in homes throughout Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Boston, Massachusetts, St. Catharines in Canada, and Auburn, New York, where she eventually settled. People of prominence sought her out, such as Senator William Seward, who later became Abraham Lincoln's Secretary of State, and outspoken abolitionist and former slave Frederick Douglass. Tubman's advice and leadership were also requested by John Brown, the famed revolutionary abolitionist. Brown always referred to the former slave as General Tubman, and he was quoted as saying she was a better officer than most whom he had seen and could command an army as successfully as she had led her small parties of fugitives. That is the essence of the law of respect. Harriet Tubman would appear to be an unlikely candidate for leadership because the deck was certainly stacked against her. She was uneducated. She began life as a slave. She lived in a culture that didn't respect black people. And she labored in a country where women didn't have the right to vote. Despite her circumstances, she became an incredible leader. The reason is simple. People naturally follow better leaders than themselves. Everyone who came in contact with her recognized her strong leadership ability and felt compelled to follow her. That's how the law of respect works. People don't follow others by accident. They follow individuals whose leadership they respect. People that are an 8 in leadership, now we're going back to the scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the strongest. People that are an 8 in that leadership, they don't go out and look for a 6 to follow. They naturally want to follow a 9 or a 10. The less skilled follow the more highly skilled and gifted. Occasionally, a strong leader may choose to follow someone less effective than himself, but when that happens, it's for a reason. For example, the better leader may do it out of respect for the person's office or past accomplishments, or he may be following the chain of command. In general, though, followers are attracted to people who are better leaders than themselves. That's the law of respect. When people get together for the first time in a group, take a look at what happens. As they start interacting, the better leaders emerge, and they begin to influence the others. At first, many people may make tentative moves in several different directions, but after the people get to know one another, it doesn't take long for them to recognize the best leaders and to start following them. Usually, the more leadership ability a person has, the more quickly he recognizes leadership or its lack in others. In time, people in the group get on board and follow the strongest leaders. Either that or they leave the group and they pursue their own agenda. What causes one person to respect and follow another? Is it because of the qualities of the leader? Is it due to the interaction between the leader and the follower? Does it occur because of circumstances? I believe all those factors can come into play and more. Based on my observations and personal experience, here are the top 7 ways that leaders gain others' respect. Number 1, natural leadership ability. First and foremost is leadership ability. All leaders are not created equal. Some people are born with greater skills and abilities to lead. However, as I've stated in the law of the lid and the law of process, every person can become a better leader. If you possess natural leadership ability, people will want to follow you. They will want to be around you. They will listen to you. They will become excited when you communicate vision. However, natural leadership ability alone is not enough. If you do not exhibit some of the additional practices and characteristics listed here, you will not reach your leadership capacity, and people may not continue to follow you. One of the greatest potential pitfalls for natural leaders is to rely on their talent alone. Number 2, respect for others. The one common characteristic all leaders possess is the ability to see more than others and before others. This gives leaders an advantage. Dictators and other autocratic leaders use this ability to gain power and benefit themselves, and they often rely on violence or intimidation to keep it. Leaders with poor values use this advantage to exploit and manipulate others. In contrast, respect for others sets good leaders apart from the bad ones. Good leaders understand that much of leadership is voluntary, and when leaders show respect for others, especially for people who have less power or a lower position than theirs, they gain respect. As a result, people want to follow them because the more respect they have for someone, the more open they are to their leadership. Gaining respect from others follows this pattern. When people respect you as a person, they admire you. When people respect you as a friend, they love you. When people respect you as a leader, they follow you. If you continually respect others and consistently lead them well, you will continue to have followers. Number 3, difficulties overcome. Respect is gained on difficult ground. Anytime leaders care enough about people to positively confront them, to help them solve a problem, overcome a blind spot, or change a destructive behavior, both of them grow. The leaders grow in the respect that they've earned, and the followers grow because they experience breakthroughs they might otherwise never experience. I've seen this over and over with the corporate clients that I've mentored. When I teach leaders how to have candid conversations tackling difficult subjects with team members, the clients have come back and told us that those were the most valuable skills that they learned. The conversations they had revolutionized their leadership, and they want more mentoring on how to tackle those tough conversations. Number 4, courage. People do not follow titles, they follow courage. One of the reasons everyone respected Harriet Tubman so much was her tremendous courage. She was determined to succeed, or she was going to die trying. She didn't let the danger stop her. Her mission was clear, and she was absolutely fearless. Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger remarked, "A leader does not deserve the name unless he is willing occasionally to stand alone. Good leaders do what's right, even at the risk of failure, in the face of great danger, and under a brunt of relentless criticism." I can't think of even one great leader from history who was without courage. Can you? A leader's courage has great value. It gives followers hope. Number 5, success. Success is very attractive. People are naturally drawn to it. It's one reason why people in our society are so focused on celebrities' lives and cheer for their favorite sports team and follow the careers of music stars. Success is even more important when it applies to the people who lead us. People respect others' accomplishments, and it's hard to argue with a good track record. When leaders are successful in their own endeavors, people respect them. And when they succeed in leading the team to victory, then followers believe that they can do it again. As a result, followers follow them because they want to be part of the success in the future. Number 6, loyalty. We live in an era of free agency. The average worker, according to one source, will change occupations 10 times by the time that he reaches the age 36. Professional athletes hop from team to team looking for the best deal, and CEOs negotiate ridiculously high financial packages, but when things go wrong, they bail out as millionaires. In a culture of constant change, turnover, and transition, loyalty is an asset. When leaders stick with the team until the job is done, remain loyal to the organization when the going gets rough, and look out for followers even when it hurts them, followers respect them and their action. Number 7, value added to others. Perhaps the greatest source of respect for a leader comes from his or her dedication to adding value to others. Because I've already discussed this extensively in the law of addition, I probably don't need to say much here, but you can be sure that followers value leaders who add value to them, and their respect for them carries on long after the relationship has ended. If you want to measure how much respect you have as a leader, the first thing you should do is look at who you attract. Dennis A. Peer remarked, "One measure of leadership is the caliber of people who choose to follow you." The second thing you should do is to see how your people respond when you ask them for commitment or change. When leaders are respected, they ask for commitment, and their people sign up and step up. They are ready to take risks, put in long hours, or do whatever is necessary to get the job done. Likewise, when respected leaders ask for change, followers are willing to embrace it. But when leaders who are not respected ask for commitment or change, people doubt, they question, they make excuses, or they just simply walk away. It is very hard for a leader who hasn't earned respect to get other people to follow when it's not easy or convenient. In 1997, college basketball saw the retirement of Dean Smith as the head basketball coach at the University of North Carolina. Smith compiled a remarkable record while leading the Tar Heels and is considered one of the best to coach at any level. In 32 years as head coach at North Carolina, he won a remarkable 879 games. His team recorded 27 consecutive 20-win seasons. They won 13 Atlantic Coast Conference titles, played in 11 Final Fours, and won 2 national championships. When Smith retired, even the President of the United States called to honor him. Despite the record and the accolades, the best place to see the law of respect at work in Smith's life is by looking at his former players. They respected him for many reasons. He taught them much about basketball as well as life. He pushed them to achieve academically, with nearly every player earning a degree. He made them winners, and he showed them incredible loyalty and respect. Charlie Scott, who played for Smith and graduated from North Carolina in 1970, advanced to play pro basketball, and he went on to work as marketing director for Champion Products. Concerning his time with Smith, he said, "As one of the first black college athletes in the ACC, I experienced many difficult moments during my time at North Carolina, but Coach Smith was always there for me. On one occasion, as we walked off the court following a game in South Carolina, one of their fans called me a big black baboon. 2 assistants had to hold Coach Smith back from going after the guy. It was the first time I had ever seen Coach Smith visibly upset, and I was shocked. But more than anything else, I was proud of him." During his time at North Carolina, Smith made quite an impact on his players. A remarkable 49 men went on to play professional basketball. Included in that list are greats such as Bob McAdoo, James Worthy, and Michael Jordan. Not only one of the best players ever to dribble a basketball, but also a fine leader in his own right. When Smith died in 2015, more than 10,000 people attended his memorial service. Even after his death, he was still giving to his players. A few weeks after his death, every letterman who played for him at North Carolina received a $200 check with a note that said, "Enjoy a dinner out. Compliments of Coach Dean Smith." James Jordan, Michael Jordan's father, credited Smith and his leadership for a lot of his son's success. Before a playoff game in Chicago in 1993, the elder Jordan observed, "People underestimate the program that Dean Smith runs. He helped Michael realize his athletic ability and hone it. But more important than that, he built character in Michael that took him through his career. I don't think Michael was privileged to any more teaching than anyone else. He had the personality to go with the teaching, and at Carolina, he was able to blend the two of them together. That's the only way I can look at it, and I think that's what made Michael the player that he became." Michael Jordan understood what it meant to follow a good leader. During the waning years of his career, he was adamant about his desire to play for only one coach, Phil Jackson. It made sense. A leader like Jordan wanted to follow a better leader than himself. That's the law of respect. If you ever become frustrated because people are reluctant to follow you, it very well may be that you are trying to lead people whose leadership is better than yours. That creates a difficult situation, because no matter how compelling your vision or how well thought out your plans, if you're a 7 as a leader, 8s, 9s, and 10s aren't likely to follow you. Mathematician Andre Will observed, "A first-rate man will try to surround himself with his equals, or better if possible. A second-rate man will surround himself with third-rate men. A third-rate man will surround himself with fifth-rate men." That's not necessarily by design or because weaker leaders are insecure. It's because of the law of respect. Like it or not, that's just the way that leadership works. When I was writing this chapter and talking about the law of respect, I found it a little challenging because I don't like to positionally put people over others. And yet it's a reality, and so I had to deal with it in this law that better leaders are followed by people that aren't quite as good in their leadership. It's a way of intuitively knowing who the best leaders are. As I've observed life, it's not title, it's not position, it's not even tenure in an organization that makes a leader effective. When that leader produces, when that leader values people, that leader gets respect. And that's who people want to follow. They want to follow somebody that they can look up to. They want to follow somebody that's a little bit beyond them, a little bit better than they, maybe have taken the journey a little bit longer than they have. I know in my life, the people that I follow the most are people that are better leaders than me. And when I was young, I realized that there were leaders within my congregation and later in my organization that honestly were better leaders than me. And it was a breakthrough moment in my life when I decided that when I found somebody that was more gifted than me in a certain area, instead of me demanding my leadership because I had the title, position, or tenure, I basically went with them and either A, let them lead, or B, asked them to help me and we would work together to lead the others. Here's what I knew. Those that are better leaders should be the leaders. That's the law of respect, and that's how it always works.